Hey, what's up everybody? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel. I'm Peter the Book Lover. I have a YouTube channel to where I talk about books and movies, and we're going to talk about some books right here. See, this is going to be the ranking the I Survived books from the I Survived book series. And the thing about it is there's 10 books here that I'm going to rank. But the thing about it is all these books are great. So every single one is a book that I would recommend. See, I was doing a Read What You Own challenge, and as I was making videos of these books, I was making a lot of videos from this series, but it wasn't getting a lot of attention. And I'm making this video right now. It might not get a lot of attention, but that's all right, since I'm just making one video, you know, instead of every day making like a video of one of these books. And a lot of them didn't do well, you know, and if this one doesn't do so well, it's not so bad. And the challenge I was doing was the Read What You Own challenge. Next year I might decide to join in and try give it another shot, but it's where you read 100. My goal was to read 100 books from my collection before I bought any more, and I decided that I wasn't going to do it, so I went and bought a couple books. You could see that a couple of videos ago. So I'm going to rank these books, plus I'm going to show you what reading project I'm taking on next. And I've got a pretty big stack of books right here of the Who Was book series, and these are a bunch of historical books. All this is historical fiction, and this is like actual history. So let's just start off with the first one, number 10. And this is I Survived the Grisly Attacks of 1967. Now, this is the weakest one in my opinion, but at the same time, this is still a really good book. Now, the thing about this book that I was expecting was a couple of people being together and a bear attacking a couple of people, and somebody experienced witnessing a bear attack. You know, this was two bear attacks that just came close to where, you know, nobody really got injured. And this is a lot to do, like, environmental. Like, I mean, the practices of the humans kind of were what was causing the bear attacks, you know. And this was all right, but this wasn't as intense as I thought it would be. So the next one is I Survived the Nazi Invasion, 1944. And this is a story about a Jewish person from Poland that actually wants to eat some berries from a raspberry bush outside of the ghetto, and he gets caught. And then they wind up escaping him, and then he finds the resistance, and he learns about the resistance. And the thing about this book that why it's kind of low on the ranking is it's an interesting subject matter, but it wasn't really intense. They had a couple intense parts, but you know, and the thing about something like this is that these were Jewish people. The characters were pretty much all Jewish people, and pretty much everybody made it to the end of the story. And I know that in reality, most Jewish people, any group of Jewish people, wouldn't have made it to the end. There'd always be one or two, maybe a lot of people missing, because the chances of death of being a Jewish person at this time was pretty high. Okay, so the next one is the Battle of D-Day, 1944. And see, the thing about it is this is another story to where it's somebody that's not really fighting, and there's not a lot of intense stuff. This guy actually saves a paratrooper, though. This has a really good scene in it to where there's a paratrooper hanging in a tree, and he helps him down, and they have a pretty good chase scene, and there's a really intense part, and then he learns about the La Resistance and all that, and it was pretty good. Now, these two books would have probably been better. Like, this one would have been better if it would have been told from an American soldier's point of view. Then it would have been a lot more intense and more interesting for me. But it's still, at the same time, it's still a good book. I really enjoyed this book, and you could learn a few things about the D-Day invasion. Pretty cool. So then the next one right here is the I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916. And this kind of remind me of the story of Jaws. What's really interesting about this, there's a practical joke played on the main character. His name was Chet Roscoe, and they play a joke on him, and I actually fell for the joke, which was pretty interesting. And this wasn't very intense, but it had a couple intense scenes, and it was pretty interesting. I really liked it a lot. It was pretty good. I like I said, I would recommend all these books, but I'm ranking it. And the next one is The Children's Blizzard from 1888. And the thing about this book, why I have it above the other books, is because this really reminded me of the Laura Ingalls Wilder's stories. You know what I mean? The Little House on the Prairie series. You know, I really love her books, and this really reminded me of that. They did have some intense parts of dealing with freezing cold temperatures, being in a blizzard and all that. You know, this was pretty interesting. I really enjoyed this. And yeah, this was a pretty good one. Really reminded me of the Little House on the Prairies, man. And I really like that book series. I've read, 3 books from that series, and they were all very, very good. Now, the next one is The Sinking of the Titanic, 1912, and this one was very, very good. As a matter of fact, excellent. I would say this was an excellent book. You know, I really love that Titanic. It's a fascinating historical event. And yeah, this is a person on the boat. His name is George Cadler, and he is going to America. And he has some really good adventures in this story. The way it wraps up is really nice as well. I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. I really recommend reading this one. And I would also recommend reading any type of book about the Titanic because it's really interesting. The ship, it was beautiful. It was an amazing piece of architecture. I mean, that ship was just amazing. And I could see why they said that it was unsinkable. But apparently that wasn't true. Now the next one, now when I read this, this was my favorite for the longest time. This is the American Revolution, 1776. And this one was really great. I recently read The Red Badge of Courage, and that was pretty cool and pretty intense. This is a little bit more intense than that. Although The Red Badge of Courage is about the Civil War, and this is about the Revolutionary War. But this was really excellent. George Washington is in this story. And the main character actually experiences near-death experiences. And he actually sees bodies on the field. And this was really interesting, and I like this one a lot. So the next one is the I Survived the Great Chicago Fire, 1871. And this one was really excellent. Yeah, this really puts you into perspective of being in that Great Fire of Chicago, and it gave you some historical knowledge of that fire. One of the books that she mentions that she read to do this research was a book by Jim Murphy, and I read that book, and that was really great. Fantastic book about the Chicago Fire, and this was really awesome. And the way the story goes together at the end is really, really fantastic. I really enjoyed this one a lot. And then the next one, this one was actually surprised me. This is the next to the last one that I've read, and this is I Survived the Battle of Gettysburg, 1863. And this person, the main character, his name is Thomas, and his little sister Bertie are really in the mix of the battles. And it also has some parts about slavery. There's some intense parts about slavery as well, and they talk about slavery, which made it really interesting. And yeah, really close up to the action. And one thing about this one that was made it more better in my opinion, not better because I like it, but like there was more drama because there is a character that dies in this one, and it made the story have more weight to it, and I really enjoyed that. And this one was a lot of fun. I really liked Thomas and Birdie, a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed this one. This is number 2. And number 1. Now the best one of this book of series is I Survived True Stories, 5 Epic Disasters. And this was really great. This had the blizzard. And funny thing, in this, she mentions that she was inspired to write this by reading The Long Winter by Laura Ingalls Wilder. So, you know, that's why that other story about the children's blizzard was like this here. And then this one covers the Titanic, but not a fictional story, an actual story. All these are just actual stories. There's no fiction in this collection of stories. Now, there's a molasses flood, the Great Boston Molasses Flood of 1919, and that was really interesting. It's kind of comical, but it was still would be awful to go through with it because this is a big tower that was filled with molasses that kind of exploded, and it was kind of like an oil spill but with syrup, and they made the whole town sticky. Then they have a Japanese tsunami, and that was really interesting. Made me really think that you thought Godzilla was bad. The tsunami was even worse. There was a part of it to where they had this big wall to avoid tsunamis, and they got up on this wall, and that wall fell immediately, and all the people on there died. Really horrific event. And then the Henryville tornado and these are recent. This is the Japanese tsunami was from 2011, and the Henryville tornado was 2012. So this is recent history, and the Henryville tornado isn't a very popular event, but it was close to being one of the most dangerous tornadoes. It really destroyed everything, man. It was pretty interesting. And I really like this because this was all true stories. And at the end, she talks about the research she did to do all these stories. Yeah, this was really wonderful, and this was my favorite so far. And this was, believe it or not, the last book that I read from this book series was this one, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Okay, now I'm going to show you the books that I plan on reading next. And this is a big stack of books right here. These are the Who Was or What Were series. So all these books, Who Was Alexander Hamilton? Now, I'm going to read this again, but this is the only book from this series that I've read so far, and this was excellent, and I'm looking forward to reading it again. I learned a lot about Alexander Hamilton, and he was a pretty interesting character, and I'm looking forward to reading this again. I got one on Leonardo da Vinci, which is a really interesting character. The guy that did the Mona Lisa. This should be really interesting. What were the Salem witch trials? This is going to be pretty grim, and I can't imagine this to be a happy story. That's a pretty grim story. Imagine how many women they burned thinking that they were witches at that time period. Pretty awful. Then we got the battle. What was the Battle of Gettysburg? And yeah, that's going to be pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to reading that. Who was Walt Disney, and the creator of Mickey Mouse, and a lot of other, the founder of Disney, you could say, man. You know, he was around when they made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and that's an amazing movie. I love Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I love Pinocchio. I love a lot of his movies. His movies were fantastic, and yeah. Well, Disneyland, too. So I'm going to learn a lot about him. The next one is what was the gold rush? And yeah, I know a little bit about this. This is when they found gold in San Francisco, and everybody went west to get gold. And some people had a lot of trouble with that. The next thing is, who was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart? And yeah, this guy wrote some awesome classical music. I really love a lot of his music, and I'm looking forward to reading about him. I also like the movie Amadeus. That was a pretty interesting movie. I enjoyed that a lot. And then we've got, who was Henry Ford? I had a Mustang. I've had two of them, and Mustangs were pretty good. A lot of people are Chevy fans, but I'm a fan of Fords and Chevys. I love them, or Dodge, and a lot of American cars are really awesome, But yeah, who was Henry Ford? He's the guy that first mass-produced vehicles, and it was pretty cool. So I'd love to read about him. Okay, the next one was, who was Sacagawea? I believe that's how you pronounce her name. And this is Indian that helped guide Lewis and Clark. And the Lewis and Clark expedition was really awesome. So I'm looking forward to reading this. Yeah, I love these little books. They're really awesome. You could read them in a day, maybe even less than a day. Some of these in just one setting, and you'll learn quite a bit. The next is, who was Betsy Ross? And she's the one that made our American flag, and I think the American flag is beautiful, and I'm looking forward to reading about her. Then we've got, what is the Constitution? This is the law of our land in the United States. Now, if you're watching from England or something, I'm from America, so I really love our Constitution. It gives our government an unusual perspective that a lot of governments don't have. We got 3 branches of government, and they're all equally as powerful as each other. So I really am looking forward to the Constitution. I didn't like it so much when I was in school, but now that I'm older, I really enjoy learning about the Constitution. We've got, what was the Boston Tea Party? And that's another really interesting event that I know quite a bit. The people that did it actually got dressed up as Indians to do this attack. And the reason why it happened was because England was taxing us without representation. So, and this was pretty interesting. Pretty much the beginning of the Revolutionary War. And this is the Declaration. What is the Declaration of Independence? This is the document that we sent to England to let them know that we were claiming independence. And yeah, this got a lot of rules to it, and I wouldn't mind reading about from this as well. If you celebrate the 4th of July in America, you should know about this document. It's a very important document. Next is, what was D-Day? Now, one of the I Survived books was about the D-Day, but this is going to be factual information, so this is probably going to be a little bit more interesting. I've seen movies to where they shown a little bit of that invasion, and it was a pretty amazing event. So the next one is, who is Confucius? And this is a Chinese philosopher, and yeah, I believe a lot of the fortune cookies are from his sayings, Confucius. Who was Princess Diana? Yeah, I know a little bit about her. I remember when she died, and she was a big deal when she married the Prince of England, and I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. Marco Polo. Who was Marco Polo? I really don't know much about Marco Polo, but I've always heard that expression, Marco Polo. So, okay, and here's a character, a person that I have never heard anything about, so this is going to be all brand new. This is, who was Rachel Carson? I have no idea who this person is, but I'm looking forward to learning something about her. Who was the Navajo Code Trackers? This is the next one I'm going to read. This is something to do with World War II, and these people broke the codes so we could find out what the enemy was doing. And yeah, this is looks like it's going to be interesting. This is another subject where I really don't know a lot about the subject matter. And the last one is a hardcover. And this is Who is Dale Earnhardt Jr.? And he's a race car driver, but I don't know much about him. I'm not into the NASCAR races. But yeah, there it is. So there it is. A kind of a long video, but yeah, there's a lot of books I talked about here. 30 books. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you so much for coming by. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you're reading, and let me know how you are, and I'd love to hear from you. And I will see you in the next video. I'm Peter the Book Lover, and I want to thank you for coming by. See you next time.